So let's start with a really fascinating question. What if a simple look into our eyes could actually unlock one of the biggest secrets hidden deep inside our brains? Well, today we're going to dig in and find out. I mean, this really gets to the heart of the problem with Alzheimer's, doesn't it? It's not something that just appears overnight. For years, sometimes for decades, the damage is quietly building up deep inside the brain, long before anyone has a clue. And that's exactly why finding some kind of early warning system is so incredibly important. Recently, scientists have been looking for clues in a place you might never expect, not in the brain itself, but in your eyes. Okay, so before we get into the how, let's just take a second to really understand why this is such a potential game changer. We need to get a handle on the sheer scale of this disease and just how sneaky it can be. Just look at the numbers. We're talking about a disease that can affect up to 30%. That's nearly a third of people over the age of 65. When you think about it like that, you can see why finding a way to catch it early it's a huge public health mission. And here's the really crucial part. Those things you fear about, the amyloid plaques and the tau tangles, they're the villains of the story, right? Well, they can be building up for decades while the person feels totally normal. So, the holy grail here is finding a way to spot that process right at the beginning, way before any memory loss actually starts. So where do you even start looking? Well, this hunt has led researchers to a very specific place, a tiny, almost mysterious, but absolutely critical spot in the brain. It's a mouthful, but it's called the locus coeruleus. That literally just means the blue spot. And you can think of it as ground zero for Alzheimer's. It is the very first place in the brain that those toxic tau tangles start to appear. And right here, you see the massive puzzle scientists are up against. This little spot, let's just call it the LC. It's the key to everything, right? It's where the disease starts. The problem? It's teeny tiny and buried so deep in the brainstem that our best tools, like fMRIs, just can't get a good look at it. It's like trying to photograph a single grain of sand from a satellite. Okay, so if you can't see the thing itself, what's the next best option? You look for its shadow, right? An indirect signal. And this is where the eye makes its grand entrance. This is the aha moment. Researchers found this incredible link. It turns out the activity of that tiny locus coeruleus is directly connected to how our pupils dilate and constrict. When the LC fires up, the pupil gets bigger. It's like the pupil is a tiny mirror, reflecting what this deep, hidden part of the brain is doing. So, this led to a really brilliant idea, a fantastic question. If we can't see the LC directly, could we just watch its reflection instead? Could that constant, subtle dance of our pupils actually be a window into the health of this hidden part of the brain? Well, there's only one way to find out, right? A team of scientists set up a really clever experiment to test this whole idea out. Okay, so here's how they did it. Pretty straightforward. They got a group of younger adults and a group of older, healthy adults. They had them lie down in an fMRI machine to watch their brain activity. But, and this is the cool part, at the exact same time, a special camera was tracking every tiny change in their pupil size. The last step was simple. They just compared the two streams of data to see if the story the pupil was telling matched the story the brain was telling. So what did they find? Well, the results were pretty amazing. It turns out those little movements in the pupil, they weren't random at all, not even close. They were telling a very, very specific story about what was happening inside the brain. The pattern was crystal clear. When the pupil got bigger, it synced up perfectly with a brain network called the salience network. That's the one that handles things like attention and just general alertness. And at the same time, it was doing the opposite of the executive network, which is what we use when we're really focusing on a task. So basically, the pupil was acting like a live dashboard for the brain's attention system. Pretty cool, right? But wait, it gets even more interesting. When they looked at the two age groups, they noticed a really big difference. That strong connection between the brain and the pupil, it was much, much stronger in the younger folks. In the older group, it had started to weaken. It was like the signal was getting a little fuzzy with age. And this wasn't just some abstract number on a chart. This really mattered. The strength of that pupil-brain connection directly predicted how well people did on cognitive tests, for things like memory, problem solving, all that good stuff. The stronger the connection, the sharper their performance. Okay, but this next part, this is the real bombshell. For the older participants, they found a link between the strength of this pupil-brain network and the actual levels of a protein called tau in their spinal fluid. Now, tau is one of the key biological markers for the kind of brain damage you see in Alzheimer's. This was huge. It's the first time anyone has drawn a direct line from the behavior of the pupil all the way to a physical sign of what could be neurodegeneration. So let's zoom out. What does all this mean for the future? Well, it could be a really big deal. We could be looking at a completely new and totally non-invasive way to keep an eye on brain health. I mean, the researchers themselves put it best in their conclusion. They said that watching these spontaneous pupil changes, it shows real promise as a way to probe this deep brain network. And it absolutely needs more study to see if it could work as an early biomarker for Alzheimer's. Now let's pump the brakes just a little bit. We have to be realistic here. The scientists are very careful to point out the limitations. For one, a lot of things can make your pupils change size, not just this one part of the brain. Plus, this was just a snapshot, a single moment in time. What we really need are long-term studies that follow the same people for years to see if these pupil changes can actually predict who develops the disease down the road. Still, it leaves us with this incredible, thought-provoking question, doesn't it? After all this time, after decades spent searching for these super complex, expensive ways to detect Alzheimer's early, could it be that a piece of the answer has been hiding in plain sight all along, right there in the simple, quiet dance of the human eye?